Greetings from Dental Education Unit, JSS Dental College Hospital. To all the registered participants, surprisingly, we have a mixed group of audience today. And it is more appreciable that we have our undergraduate students of second BDS and third BDS also join in. Big congratulations to them. Dental Education Unit, a unit of CCLPE, that is Center for Continuous Learning for Professional Excellence. Since its inception, it's been striving to update the faculty and students to the current trends in dental education practice research by facilitating educational initiatives. This webinar is yet another step ahead in this effort. Scientific information is flowing at a rate never seen till now, especially during this COVID time. And of course, dentistry is no exception for this global trend. There is a plethora of research that's happening, and this is adding and bombarding us with information in the form of communications, in reports, articles, and also deliberations. Parallelly, we also know that there is a research experience stressed upon right away from the undergraduate professional education. And no wonder we have all our students actually enrolling into this session. So performing research and going ahead, publishing the research findings definitely adds to a positive influence for one's career advancement, for academic recognition, and the scientific reputation. But what we observe is nowadays, the scientific publication is becoming a measure for the validation of one's work, not only one's work, but also an institution. And ultimately, this is determining the social impact. And with this concerns, there is a lot of pressure from all the clinicians and academicians to go ahead, pursue research, and go ahead with scientific publications. Publishing research findings in an esteemed journal with a high impact factor is no less than a Herculean task. Even a seasoned researcher will definitely vouch for this option of mine. And in this context, what actually is happening, or an observation is, most of the researchers do decide to go upon publishing their findings in questionable journals. And likely this is happening because of the aggressive campaigning of the journals to submit the articles and ensuring or promising the researchers with a speedy and timely publication of their research. And no wonder, this is definitely detrimental to the quality of dental education and practice. This context has brought us, or made us go ahead to have this platform for this webinar titled Predatory Journals and Why Should We Worry? Likely, this platform will guide us upon the guidelines which one has to keep in mind in order to choose, in order to recognize a credible journal for their dissemination of research findings. And joining with me to this panel session is our own principal, sir, Dr. Ravindra S., Professor and Principal of JSS Dental College and Hospital. Good morning, sir. Welcome you to this session.
Thank you.
And along with me is Dr. Avinash BS, who is a reader in Department of Periodontology and also an active and enthusiastic member of the Dental Education Unit team. Welcome to you too. A very good morning, Dr. Avinash.
Good morning, everyone.
And yes, of course, we have our most dynamic and dedicated researcher and the resource faculty for today, Dr. Hani Sharma. Good morning, Dr. Hani Sharma.
Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. Good morning to everyone.
Welcome. Welcome. A warm welcome to you to this session.
Thank you.
And with this note, I would request our principal, sir, to give us open remarks before we start with the session. Sir, over to you.
Very good morning to everyone. Of late, we know, all of us know that research and publication is a must for in academics. And publication in good journal, as Dr. Sunila puts it, it's very difficult. And it's very important also. And it also reflects the quality of the research what we have carried out. Today we have Dr. Sharma with us, our own alumni, and he is going to enlighten us on importance of the good journal. I thank him for accepting our invitation, and I once again welcome him for this webinar. I also welcome everyone to this webinar. Thank you all. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, Dr. Hani Sharma, you wanted to say something?
Oh, just I want to thank for the sir to providing me such an opportunity. It will be a learning experience for me also by having different question answers, which I will go and really try to rectify it.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. And for the participants, I have a brief introduction of our resource faculty for today. Dr. Hani Sharma has his master's in public health dentistry, and he is right now placed at Triveni Institute of Dental Sciences, placed at Chhattisgarh. As alumni of JSS Dental College, in his undergraduate days, he is very well known for his outstanding academic performance. And further ahead, he is right now also a practicing dentist. And he has to his credentials quite many publications in esteemed journals and in index journals as well. He's also an active peer reviewer of scholarly journals and articles. He's trying to put across many of these activities in his public health dentistry discipline. So we today have a very dynamic and dedicated researcher, Dr. Hani Sharma, who would appraise us regarding the problems or the detrimental effects of trying to choose a predatory journal and why should a researcher worry about it. So over to you, Dr. Hani Sharma. I hand over the screen. Kindly go ahead with the session.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, the screen is visible. So, good morning, everyone. So, as we know that today's topic is what are predatory journals and why should we worry about it? So we know that there is a lot of we are conducting researches, okay, and research is part of everything, okay. So whereas researches are conducted worldwide as a part of academic programs, where young scholars conduct research as a part of academic programs, while those who are employed conduct researches for the development and progression of the profession. While many independent researchers and institutes also carry out researches to obtain grants and funds. Timely dissemination of these acquired information and knowledge through publication in index journal not only helps in advancement of biomedical science, but also help the researcher gain his or her due credit. So there is a potential for both researcher as well as the publisher. On one side, it is helping author to get the desired credit, while on the other side, it is fetching huge monetary benefits for the publisher. So as a potential for both, there is a rise for predatory publishing. Okay. These pseudo or predatory journals not only targets established researchers, but also targets eager to publish young scholars and authors for their personal gain. And it has been observed that in many incidences, differentiating between a predatory and a legitimate journal is quite difficult. So for this, to understand the problem of this predatory publishing, we had set various objectives so that at the conclusion of this webinar, a participant will be able to understand what are the qualities of a good biomedical journal, what is the term predatory and predatory publishing in context of biomedical journals, identify the subtle hints by themselves which will help them to distinguish predatory publishers from the legitimate ones, and what happens when a legitimate research is being published in a predatory journal. So at last, they will be able to identify that how to select an appropriate journal according to their publication need. while being safe from this so-called pseudo publishers. So before jumping on what is predatory publishing, first we should know what are the qualities of a good biomedical journal, because to understand what is bad, first we should know what is good. So first quality is that a good journal should have a good peer review system. So what many of you will not be aware that what is a peer review system. So it is a process that involves checking and evaluating of the scholarly work by a group of experts of the same discipline. For example, when you submit a manuscript, it is evaluated by the expert of the same discipline for the strength and weakness. It not only helps the author to improve the quality and the clarity of the manuscript, but on the other hand, it also helps the editor and editorial staff to identify which manuscript is of acceptable quality and which is of substandard quality based on the strength and weakness. If I consider myself as a peer review, what it will help me? It will help me develop knowledge and expertise in the specific field. While for a society, it helps to get an evidence-based literature which is based on a good peer review system. Second quality is open access journal. Many times we had heard that a journal is open access, peer reviewed and open access journal. So what actually is free, unrestricted, online access to research output such as article, journals and book. And open access content is open to all with no access fees. So whenever you publish your manuscript or your work, it should be, you will be thinking that it has to be available for everyone throughout the world, so that anyone can access it, read it and reuse it. So to make any work available online and accessible for everyone, generally most of the journal follows two routes. One is bold open access and green open. There are other open access also, but these are majorly two type of open access which generally most of the reputed journals follow. Okay, so in bold open access, what happens is when your manuscript is accepted, you are required to pay a particular article processing charge, and your manuscript is published and it is freely accessible on the publisher's platform. Okay, while on green open access, what is there? There are certain restrictions placed by the publishers. Okay, so what happens? They restrict you for sharing your published work on your personal platforms such as ResearchGate and any other route. Okay, but they allow you to share it, share a preprint or a postprint via good repository, open access repository. What are now this preprint and postprint? So whenever you submit a manuscript and before it has gone to a peer review, it is called as preprint version. And when a manuscript has been peer reviewed, but it has not been, and accepted for the publication, but has not been typesetted or edited according to for making of PDF, that is called as postprint. Okay, so you can submit this preprint and postprint to a repository so that everyone can view it. But this both the documents also you have to submit after a certain period of time, which is known as embargo period. Within this embargo period, the journal restrict you from submitting any kind of version of this manuscript. So what does this open access helps us? Since because it provides more in field also can see your work, and it is estimated that it generally open access journal article published % higher citation on average. Okay, and because it has gone through our rigorous peer review system, and anyone can access it and read it, it is eligible for funding and grant compliances, while practitioners and policy makers can apply their findings in their practice. And the third quality is indexing and abstracting partners. So it is quite difficult to understand the difference between both, but I will try to make a simple for you. Indexing is a short information of the published document in an adequate bibliographic citation, hence act as a gate that helps the user to search the information. So in short, whenever you visit a NCBI website, abstract is there, and there will be title of your manuscript, initials of the author, abbreviation, short abbreviation of the journal in which it is published, year of publication, volume number, issue number, and page number. And in addition, there will be presence of DOI and PubMed ID or Medline ID wherever it is indexed. Okay, so these small bibliographic elements such as page number, volume number, all that are provided by indexing services, okay, so that anyone can from anywhere can access these articles, okay. While the abstracting services are quite different, they provide a concise representation of the original work with an adequate bibliographic details, and it is called as real surrogate of the document. Why it is called as real surrogate? Whenever you visit an abstracting database, what you will see there is a placement of a small abstract there, where a user can read that abstract, which is the gist of the entire original document, and he can decide whether he wants to go for a full text read or he is satisfied with that read, okay. So that is called as abstractive system. For example, you might have seen EBSCO services you might have used. So these are certain indexing partners which you will encounter in most of the reputed journals, such as PubMed, PubMed Central, Medline, Index Medicus, Scopus, Dewage, Embase, and various others are there. And these are the abstracting partners you will generally see: EBSCO, Inari, Google Scholar, Baidu Scholar, or OnePang Data, or Ex Libris Primo Central. Okay, so a good journal generally have a separate heading that in which abstracting partners they are registered and which indexing, but most of the time these are used simultaneously. So a fourth quality of a good biomedical journal includes a good biomedical journal has a good quality check partners. So why I need to check a quality? So whenever I submit a manuscript, it is desirable that the work is my original. Okay, it is not been copy pasted from anywhere else. Okay, so it increases the credibility of the research. Okay, so for this there are certain various quality check partners, but majorly most of the journal use Authenticate, Turnitin, or Plagiarism X checker. Okay, so a good biomedical journal generally takes member partnership of more than one of this quality check partner, and even one is sufficient for them. Fifth, it should follow guidelines issued by various committees and associations for quality research reporting, like ICMJ, COPE, European Science Editing, the Association of Learned Professional Society Publisher. But most of the time you will see a reputed journal will be partnering with ICMJE and COPE, because ICMJE not only issues guideline for a quality research opening, but also issues guideline for a good authorship, like who should be a primary author, who should be corresponding author, or who should be a contributing author. So a good journal has a membership of both committees and association, while other this membership can also depend upon the geographic region. For example, if a journal is originating from a European country, they will have membership of European Science Editing Society in addition to ICMJE and COPE. So now the sixth quality is the long-term digital preservation and archiving partners. So now you will ask me, what is this long-term digital preservation and archiving partners? So whenever you publish a manuscript and it is made available online, so it is expected that it will remain online and accessible for everyone throughout its lifetime. Okay, so in this situation, the long-term digital preservation and archiving partners comes in handy. Logs, clocks, and Portico. So a good biomedical journal generally takes membership of more than one archiving system, archiving partners, and these archiving partners help at when there is catastrophic failure of the servers or the journal ceases to operate. Okay, so when the journal ceases to operate, it doesn't mean your article will disappear from online. Okay, it will be available and it will be accessible, readable, and reusable for lifetime because of this digital preservation and archiving partners. So a good biomedical journal should have the membership of this. And a good biomedical journal should issue a DOI number for each of the article it publishes. Okay, DOI number is a digital object identifier which is issued by International DOI Foundation. So as the definition shows, it is a unique persistent identifier which is issued for any electronically published material or article. In simple words, you say. So, so all the articles when it is published should have a definite URL which differentiate one article from the other, and it also helps to make that article accessible and searchable. Okay, so it not only helps to provide citation, but it also helps to provide accurate number of citations and increases the visibility of the work. Since your article is being cited with the help of this DOI, it also helps to increase the impact factor of journals as well as the author. So in many instances, you will see that journal is not having DOI number, but they do provide ISSN number. Okay. So what is the advantage of DOI over ISSN number? As you can see, ISSN number logo only tells that it is an international standard serial number. So it is a 8-digit serial number which is given to any published periodical which is published online. Okay. So when comparing the advantage of DOI over ISSN number, a DOI is persistent throughout the life of electronic publication. So it will be constant throughout the life, and you can search any article with their DOI number. Okay. While in case of ISSN number, they are also persistent throughout the life of the journal, but ISSN number changes when the journal changes its title or the journal ceases to operate. Okay. So when journal has changed its name, the ISSN number will change, and when the journal ceases to operate, the ISSN number will disappear. Okay. So on the other side, DOI helps to identify and cite the specific DOI number is issued for a particular article, while ISSN number identifies the journal title as a whole and not the particular work or article. So if I am having a ISSN number of any particular journal, I will not be able to search the article which article if I want to see, because for that I will need each year that article was published, in which volume, which issue number, and which page number it was published, because ISSN number will only identify the journal, not the article. While DOI, if you have a DOI number of a particular article, you can access it from anywhere without any difficulty. So I will like to, these are not related to the quality of the journal, but then also I will like to tell you about some portals which provide services for authors and researchers. Okay. So you are not related to the quality of the provide services for the authors and researchers. For example, ORCID, as the logo only tells us, ORCID, connecting research and researchers. Okay. So what happens is this ORCID provides persistent digital identifier for each researcher whoever registers in their portal. Okay. So if you and me registers in the portal, I will have a different ORCID while you will have a different ORCID. Okay. So it is a persistent digital identifier. Okay. Same is the researcher ID. Okay. But the researcher ID is being provided by the Publons Web of Science and Insights. Okay. So these both provides a persistent digital or a unique digital identifier which helps to distinguish one researcher from the other. Okay. So it is nowhere linked to the journals. Okay. And the third thing what I will write to tell is a ResearchGate. Okay. So ResearchGate, as you all know, that ResearchGate is a research sharing platform. Okay. So research sharing platform where you can share your research as well as try to you can get access to millions of researchers from different researchers. Okay. And also you can use this gateway as to connect and collaborate with colleagues, peers, authors, and specialists. Okay. So these are the three different portals which I would like to for you to know. So now we will come to understand the term predatory in journal context. Now you know what are the qualities of a good biomedical journal. It should have a good peer review system. It should have an open access. It should be the members of various committees and organizations. It should have a good quality check partner. It should have a good long-term digital and archiving partners, and it should provide DOI numbers to each of the article published in their journal. Okay. So now what is the term predatory means in journal context? Okay. So predatory refers to anything that is inclined or intent to injure or exploit others for their personal gain or profit. Okay. So it can be anything. It can be a person, it can be an animal, or it can be any association also. Okay. So the term predatory is used in by a vast construct. Okay. So it says that for personal benefit, someone is injuring or exploiting other. So now what the predatory publishing means in terms of biomedical research. Okay. So it refers to the journal which prey on young researcher or academicians for their personal gain or financial profit through article processing charges in order to provide peer review benefit and open access, but they do not follow standard ethical policy. So this is the simple definition. Okay, so what is that is they charge you article processing charges, and they tell you that they will be publishing your article, which will have a good peer review benefit and an open and will be open access. But in general, they do not follow this standard articles. Neither they provide a good peer review system, neither and they have an open access policy. So now, what is the WAME statement of pediatric journal? So WAME is World Association of Medical Editors. So what they told about pediatric journals? They told pediatric journals are the journals that claim to conduct a peer review for all the submitted manuscripts and mimic the structure of a legitimate journal, but in contrary, they publish almost all the manuscripts which are submitted to them without having an external peer review system. Okay, so they claim that if you provide the article processing charge, they will conduct a good peer review system and they will mimic the legitimate journal, but they don't provide the service for which you are charged. Okay, so now point comes, then who all can fall prey to pediatric journal and these publishers? Okay, so a person who has lack of awareness regarding the predatory journals, who don't know what is the difference between a predatory journal from a legitimate ones. Okay, or those who are dissatisfied with the traditional academic journal. Why I am using the term dissatisfaction, I will give you one example. For example, if I submit one manuscript to a particular journal, it gets rejected, okay, because of its substandard quality. Then I submit the same manuscript to the other journal. From there also it gets rejected. Then I submit it to the third journal. It goes into peer review system, and because of substandard quality, it gets rejected after 2-3 months. Okay, so I will be dissatisfied. Why I should publish in such kind of journal? Because I am having other means to publish the articles. And finally they submit it to so-called of pediatric journal by getting frustrated. Okay, or some may use as a low barrier means for publishing, and many of times it happens that we get pressure from staff or a concerned department. For example, most of us are scholars. Okay, so there is a criteria that at least you should publish one article for sitting in exams. So most of us get under pressure and publishing so-called pediatric journals, and there are some people who will try to achieve success and fame in a short period of time by publishing large number of articles by easy means. So now, what are the subtle hints which we can use to distinguish these predatory publishers from the legitimate ones? So to identify, first we should know what they all do. First, they violate the open access. They are not the member of many of the committee and association, and they are not the member of DOAJ. And as I told you, what is DOAJ is? DOAJ is Directory of Open Access Journal. If your journal is listed in DOAJ, it means it provides a good open access. While if it is not listed in DOAJ, means there is no clarity about the open access policy of the journal. So now what their email tells us. Okay, so whenever this kind of things happens, when one of us might have published in a good journal, or at least might have submitted our article to some journal. Okay, so what they will do is they will start bombarding you with such kind of bulk spam mails. Okay, so one thing you will try look into their particular emails is that those emails will come from a free email providers like Gmail or yahoomail.com. They will bulk spam. They will send you bulk spam mails. What means that you will receive 1 or 2 mails within a short period of 1 hour, or you will receive many emails within a short period of 1 day, or they may keep mailing you until and unless you don't respond to them. Okay, and in their mails you will see that they will use frequent use of appreciating words like dear doctor, professor, or authors or professionals. Why they do like that? Because they are sending these mails to a bulk population. Okay, so what happens? Why they use such kind of terms? Because they don't know you, they don't realize. Okay, so they will use a common term like doctor, professors. Okay, and in emails they will also mention about the fast and slow review cycles, and according to that, fast and review cycles will depend according to the article processing charges. For example, if you pay for example, I am telling that if you pay 5,000 rupees, they will tell you that your article will go to a short review slow review cycle, and if you pay 10,000 rupees, you will your article will go to fast review cycle, and it will be published within a day or a week. Okay, and in email they can also invite you to become a speaker of the conference, being an editor and a reviewer position in the journal. So most of us get trapped that oh, they are offering me a position to become a speaker or editor or reviewer in a journal that will be very respectful, and we fall into their traps. So this is a real world example which I am showing you. So first line only tells that that the journal is offering that if you submit manuscript into their journal, that it will be smooth, simple, and timely publishing. Okay. The second thing you will notice here is that the sender is sending emails from a free email provider like yahoomail.com, gmail.com. They will prominently display their journal title, which will start from journal, international, global, Asian, like that. Okay, so they will also display fake impact factor like index Copernicus value of 40, 80, 100, and impact factor of 5.379. If you consider in Indian terms, most of the reputed medical and journal do not have impact factor of more than 2, but they will have impact factor of 5.379. Why it is so? Because they are not using the impact factor which is provided by the Cleverett analyst, that is journal impact factor, which start from JIF. Instead, they are using the matrices which are provided by other agencies such as global impact factor, journal impact factor. So that are the other matricing company which provides fake matrices. Okay, and in if you see clearly, they will provide a link for their website of their journal, and they will also try to make you submit your manuscript to a random Gmail account. In this case, it is showing that you have to submit your manuscript to a finance section of some journal and then @gmail.com. Okay, so you have to submit your manuscript to a random finance section where they will decide which kind of article it is. Either it is an original article, it is a review article, or it is a case report, and they will decide the fees according to that, and they will tell you that if you submit this fees, your article will be accepted. While this is the another one good article from which I took this manuscript submission invitation from a predatory journal. It was published in a journal of Korean Medical Sciences. So they can also show you that they can also show you that different logos they will place in their email, like logos of cross references, or they will try to make you submit manuscript to a specific volume number, issue number, or the last issue of the year, like that they will do. And here also they are displaying fake matrices 3.76, which is of scientific journal impact factor and not a journal impact factor. Okay, and as I told you, they will use over appreciating language in the emails, and they will display fake matrices, and even they can go to a much more extent, and they will display fake logo of open access. So now we are convinced by their mail, and we click on their link and go to their web page. Then what we will observe on their web page is that they will prominently display their journal title, which will start from global, international, universal, Asian, American, and European. Why they use such kind of terms? To attract the researchers from various countries. Okay, so more of the researchers will get attracted by, because most of us has inherent desire to publish in a international journal, that if I submit my manuscript should be published by an international journal, and it will be accessible, readable, and reusable throughout the world. Okay, so that's why they use such kind of terms. And one most prominent thing you will observe is they will use a web page which is mirror like to that of mainstream index journal. Okay, so they will use a good design, good web page design, which will show similarity to that of other journal, which is index journal. Okay, they can use fake indexes and abstracting logos along with fake matrices in their website. And they generally, you will see, they will cover a vast variety of subject, and they will claim that they are multidisciplinary in nature, so to attract the manuscript of various disciplines. Okay, so in spite of being a dental journal or a particular medical journal, they will being a dental journal, they will start accepting manuscript from pharmacy, anatomy, biochemistry. Okay, instead of applied biochemistry. Okay, and they will place fraudulent logos of different committees like Committee of Publication Ethics and even DOAJ. So this is a real world example after clicking that link, we went to their web page. Okay, so most of the lines I had blurred in order to use this web page as a not controversial use. So most of the places you see wherever I had blurred, they were using the word international to tell in each point that their journal is international in nature. On the right side, you are seeing that they have a wider scope, integrated anatomy, physiology, chemistry, or even dentistry. And on the lower lower corner, you will see that they are displaying impact factor of 5.09 and a display of fake logo of PubMed. Okay, so if you see on the top left side, you will see a section which shows that you can view their indexing. If you click on the indexing, what you see is you will see a page like this. Okay, where you will see that they had placed several logos, and much will be the repetition of the logos of the same indexing. Okay, so here also they are showing PubMed, and here also they are showing PubMed. Okay, and in spite of that, they are also showing researcher ID and ORC ID. As I told you earlier, researcher ID and ORC ID are specifically issuing IDs for particular researcher, and they are nowhere linked with the journals. Okay, and they are also using the logos of Thomson Reuters and Clarivate Analytics. Okay, so if they are registered with Clarivate Analytics, they should use the impact factor which they are providing, which is Journal Impact Factor JIF, which is known as GIF. Okay, but instead they will use other impact factor like Global Impact Factor and Journal, which is known as GIF, GIF. Now, when you will look into the editorial board for a non-controversial use, I had remove the name of most of the editorial board members, but when you can if you can see, the editor-in-chief was having on only the name, but there was no affiliation or no designation provided for that editor-in-chief. Okay, so we can't trace out who is that editor-in-chief and where he works. Okay, and other thing what you will notice is that most of the editorial board members are from India, and there is no geographical difference, and still they claim that they are international in nature. So these are this is the indexing abstracting web page I had taken from another journal website, and there was a huge list, so I had separated it and placed side by side for your comparison. Okay, so on left side, if you see, they are using ORCID, LinkedIn, ResearchGate, and Course Hero. And most funny thing here, what they are using is LinkedIn, which it is an American-based professional platform where you can meet the recruiters, or you can send your resume to get a job. So basically, it is an employment platform. And the lower side, you will see that they are indexing Course Hero. If you search Course Hero in a Google, you will observe that it is just a website which is providing different kind of courses where you can register and do a course. For example, if I try to do an implantology course, I can go and register there. On the right side, if you are seeing, they are placing logos of various universities and colleges as a indexing partners. For example, SRM Science and Technology, Manipal College of Dental Sciences, Amrita University, and even they are using SlideShare as an indexing services. We all know that SlideShare is just for sharing slides and presentation for your peers. So now we had seen the qualities of a good biomedical journal, and the quality and the subtle hints which we can use to differentiate predatory journals from these so-called predatory journals from the legitimate ones. Okay, so now we should also know that what happens when a legitimate research is being submitted to a predatory journal. So you had conducted a good research and you had submitted into these so-called predatory journals because you were not aware of what are predatory journals. So what happens? As I told you, there are only two possibilities. Either they will conduct a peer review or they will not conduct a peer review at all. Okay, so if you submit a manuscript, either it will bypass the peer review system and they will tell you that your article is accepted, then you will have to pay a huge hefty sum of amount, and it will get published in a journal which has no archiving system, so there is no assurity that it will remain online for a lifelong. Okay, and also it doesn't have a DOI number or any other ID, so the research is neither accessible nor readable and nor usable. So you will never get citations out of it, and neither you will have a good impact on the scientific society. Okay. Or on the other way, if they also send you for a peer review system, they will send to an unwarranted peer review system. Why I am telling you here is unwarranted, because they don't have a specific peer review system, so they don't have a dedicated peer reviewers. Okay, so they will send your manuscript to a random peer reviewers. They can only do what are the possibility is. This thing has been taken from a very good article by Rastig, where you can see what is unwarranted peer review system. So when an article goes to unwanted peer review system, there can be purposeful delay of the manuscript, or in much of the extent it can happen that there is stealing of original idea of the author. So by the time your manuscript will get published, it will get published somewhere else with different results, but they had stolen our idea in somewhat way. So this is a example which I was telling, purposefully delay. This is a real life incident when one of my friends had submitted the article to a particular journal which was claiming to be a Scopus and Embase index, and the article was accepted in 2018. Okay, but the reference number was of 2019, and the article got published in February 2020. So they purposefully delayed the manuscript for 1.5 years to get it published in 2020. By that time, that indexing was not there at all. So ultimately, the whole manuscript lost its importance, its visibility, and ultimately the credibility. So what this report I will like to share you, this has been updated in March 12, 2018. So this is the stand of University Grant Commission on Predatory Publishing. They reported that 88% of the journal in their quality care list were predatory in nature, and that 80% corresponds to 1009 journals. Okay, so you can see the extent of predatory publisher infiltrating the quality journals. So how to now we are aware that predatory publishing is going on. There are a lot of problems going on. So how to select an appropriate journal according to their publishing needs. So for according to know what are your publication needs, first you should check out the guidelines issued by MCI or DCI. Okay, so if you are a medical fraternity, you should follow the MCI guidelines, while if you are a dental faculty, you should follow the DCI guidelines. So if this I had taken, these are the MCI guidelines which was issued on 12th February 2020. So here you can see they are only accepting papers, original papers, meta-analysis, systematic review, which are published in Medline, PubMed Central, Citation Index, Expanded Embase, Scopus, and DOAJ. Okay, so if you publish your manuscript in any other journal which are not indexed in such kind of indexings, your paper will have no value for them. Okay, so by dental specialty, approved by Dental Council of India. For example, I will tell you Journal of Indian Society of Periodontology, which is being published by Indian Society of Periodontology. So it has been approved by Dental Council of India and ultimately will help you fetch 15 points. Okay. The second category consists of medical and dental journals which are published by Government Health University awarding dental degree, or government university awarding dental degrees. Okay, so this is their line. So you cannot publish your article in any of the universities which are just giving they are medical or dental and are approved by Government Health University. They should be awarding dental degrees. For example, if a journal is being published by Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, that will give you 10 points. Okay, and in third category, what are the journals? They are published by deemed universities, dental institution, and Indian. So the journals which is published by Indian Dental Association will also give you 5 points. But in third category, only 3 articles will be considered. Okay, this point has to be noted. Okay, so now you had written a manuscript. You know the scope of, for example, you had written a manuscript on tobacco control. So what I will choose my journal according to that scope, that those journals who are ready to accept the manuscript on tobacco. Okay, then what I should do is, first I should think whether that journal in which you are submitting your research is a trusted journal, or a publisher is trusted or not. Okay, then only you can move ahead. Okay, so for knowing that it is trusted or not, you should check which journal is published by which publisher. Okay, so publisher holds an importance. Then you can also consult your seniors, faculty, or your peers who had already published the article, and they will tell you it's okay, you can go ahead, it is a good journal. Then you can move ahead, and you can use the check guideline. Okay, so what comes in check, you have to check whether the journal which is showing different indexing is really indexed or not in that particular indexings or not. Okay, for that I will be telling you how to check in particular indexings. And last, when you are assured that the journal is legitimate, it is really indexed in the indexing which they are claiming, then you can move ahead and submit your manuscript. So how to check whether the journal really fulfills open access criteria, or in simple words, you can say whether the journal is really open access or not. Okay, for this you have to visit Directory of Open Access Journal, which is also known as DOAJ. Okay, so DOAJ, for visiting your DOAJ, you don't have to do anything, just type http://doaj.org. Okay, you will be presented with this screen. Okay, where there will be two options. If you want to search a journal title, you can tick mark the journals. While if you want to select articles, search articles, you can tick mark articles. Okay, and then just paste the journal title here and put search. If it appears in the list, it is really a open access journal and it is listed in DOAJ. Okay, so it is as simple as this. Okay, so now how to check quality journals listed in Scopus. Okay, so like DOAJ, Scopus is also very simple. Just go to www.scopus.com. So you will receive a welcome preview screen of Scopus, which will say welcome to Scopus preview. And on top right corner, you will see there are two options: author search and sources. In author search, you can search the profile of whichever researcher you want and whoever are registered in this Scopus. So you can search author's profile and see what is their impact factor, what is their H factor, H index, and you can see how many articles they had published which are also indexed in Scopus. On the other side, if we click sources, another screen will open like this, which will have on top left side, from drop down list, you can select title and then enter the title of the journal in this search string and click find sources. Okay, if your journal appears in this search result of this search, then your journal is indexed in Scopus. If it don't appear in the list, it is not indexed. So one good thing about Scopus is that it updates its list every 6 months. Okay, so this also make certain disadvantage. So that every time when you are submitting to a Scopus index journal, you should separately check whether the journal is really indexed in Scopus or not. Okay, and one more thing is that Scopus also have different tiers. For example, Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. So the best quality journals are placed towards the Q1, while average quality journals are placed at Q4. Generally, most of the Indian journals are between Q3 and Q4. So if you want to know that your particular journal is indexed in Q2 tier of Scopus or not, what you have to do is just search, as I told, put select title from drop down list, paste your journal title, and then click sources, and from the left side you will see a filter refine list like this, which will appear on left side, lower left side. Okay, so there you have to select this Q2 quartile and put apply filter. Okay, once you apply the filter, if your journal is still in the list, it will be a Q2 index journal. If it disappears from the list, it might be indexed in Scopus in other tier like Q3 and Q4. Okay, so next time what I will do is, next time I will select Q3 filter and apply the filters. Like this you can know that whether your journal is indexed in Scopus or not and in which tier. So now, how to check whether the journal is listed in PubMed, PubMed Central, or Medline? So many of us has confusion that PubMed Central, PubMed, and Medline are different. So in simple words, I can say is they all are same, and PubMed Central and Medline are subset of PubMed. Okay, so whether your article is PubMed, indexed in PubMed Central or Medline, definitely it will be indexed in PubMed. Okay, so we want to know whether the let us take a hypothetical example. We want to know whether the Journal of Postgraduate Medicine is a PubMed, PubMed Central, or Medline. So search is simple. Write NCBI in Google and click it. Okay, what you will get is NCBI ka portal like this. On the right side, on the top left corner, you have to select NLM catalog from the drop down list and place your journal title into the search string and click search. Okay, so as soon as you will click search, you will be presented with the search results like this. Okay, so there can for searching Journal of Postgraduate Medicine, as you can see, I am getting 16 results. Okay, so to filter out more, I will on top left corner, you can see I will click journal referenced in PubMed or NCBI database. Okay, so it will give me a limited results. Okay, so I will select my journal of postgraduate medicine from the search result, and I will click it. Once I click it, the final page will appear somewhat like this. Okay, so what will happen? You have to look here for the current indexing status. Okay, so what I am showing here in the red circle is the journal is currently indexed for Medline, and it currently subset for Index Medicus. So by this way, if you are searching for another journal which is indexed in PubMed Central, so you follow the same procedure, and instead of getting this, you will get that currently indexed in PubMed Central. Okay, so you can by this way you can search out PubMed, PubMed Central, Medline at the same time, because they all are a part of PubMed. Okay, PubMed Central and Medline is a subset of PubMed. So this is another trick way. I will not tell you that this is the most trusted way, but this is a trick way if you can't understand the previous one. So what I will do is I will just go to the journal's website. For example, in this case, I had gone to Journal of Postgraduate Medicine, and I will go to their website and I will copy any article title from a previous issue, except the current issue. Why I am telling that you should copy the article title, any article title from the previous issue except current issue, because current issue generally takes 30 to 35 days to get registered in PubMed, PubMed Central, or Medline. So by that time, it will not, that article titles will not appear in the search list of PubMed, PubMed Central, or Medline. Okay, so take any article title which belongs to a previous issue or a just previous issue to that current issue, and place that article title into the Google, and after that write NCBI and click search. Okay, so if your journal is really indexed in PubMed, what will happen is you will get your article title. So for example, here as I am showing, I got my search result, Pediatric Journal, The Rise of Worthless Biomedical Science, and it will show that if you can search in NCBI database. So once I click it, I will get a screen like this, okay, which I will be expanding in next slide. So I will get a final result like this. Okay, so from what you can see here is on the top right corner, or in the middle, you can say there is a PMCID and PMID. So what does PMCID and PMID means is PMCID stands for PubMed Central ID, while PMID stands for PubMed ID. So basically, this journal is indexed in PubMed Central, and by that time I had earlier made the search by NLM category. I was able to see that from PubMed Central it has shifted to Medline. So now there are certain universities which also accept articles from various other journals, okay, which not only it is not compulsory that they should be listed in different reputed indexing. They can also be available in UGC quality journal list. Okay, so what is that UGC quality journal list? Is UGC care list, which has been launched recently, after that report which was saying that 88% of journals were predatory in UGC care list. Okay, so they had launched a new list which you can get from ugccare.unipune.ac.in. Okay, so if you go to their website, what you will see is a UGC care list. It will be web page will be presenting like this. From that, what you can do is just there will be a drop. First, you will have to register yourself in this website. Okay, so after registering, what you have to do is just select title, ISSN number, publisher, whatever you want to search. If you want to search title, you can search title. If you want to select ISSN number, you can select ISSN number. So after I select title, what I have to do is just place my journal title into this searching, and I will click on search. If the journal really appears in the list, you can consider that it is eligible for that universities which are considering UGC listed articles also. Okay, and there are some other ways also to assess the journal information, whether they are blacklisted or whitelisted, whether they are predatory in nature or legitimate in nature. So other two ways are Cabell's list and Beall's list. Okay, Cabell's list, it also provides services for manuscript preparation tool, journal matrix details, apart from journal whitelist and blacklist. Okay, but unfortunately, this is a paid subscription-based service. Oh, so you will have to pay for it, and then only you can identify whitelist and blacklist journal from their listing. Okay, while Beall's list is free of cost, it is available online from various personal blogs, because it was created by Jeffrey Beall, and who was an American librarian, but ultimately, because of pressure from various journals, institutions, and even from pressure from the peers, he had stopped to operate this listing in 2017. So whatever listing what you will be getting online currently will not be an updated list. It will be a list till 2017. Okay, but still it will be helpful for identifying so-called predatory publishers and journals. So now, as I told you, WAME has also given the definition of predatory journal. Now the WAME has given certain guidelines to identify the predatory journal. So as I told you, as if you can remember in first slide, I told how to check quality of a good biomedical journal, or what are the qualities of a good biomedical journal. I never use the term what are the qualities of an indexed biomedical journal. Why I did not use the term indexed biomedical journal? Because there can be many instances where the journal is new or recently originated. You can't expect that journal to be indexed in reputed databases. Okay, so to identify that good biomedical journal, they recommend that you should at least use DOAS and ThinkCheck submit guidelines to identify legitimate journals from and distinguish and make separate the so-called predatory journals, and not just using Bell's list or Cabell's list, because you know Cabell's list is paid subscription based and Beall's list is not updated, and it is available free of cost, and currently it is not being updated from 2017. So at least a journal should be indexed in DOAJ to be an open access journal. So this is not what I say is this is not an authentic information, but I will like to introduce you to such an information because I had found it on ResearchGate. So on ResearchGate, many of the reputed scientists are debating on the definition of an international journal. That what should be the definition of international journal so that it can be categorized as international. So one of the leading scientists has proposed his criteria, which is known as Van Wijnanden's criteria. So he tells that 1/4 or 25% of editorial board members should be employed from outside the country of publication. Okay, for example, the journal is publishing from India and the publication house is situated in India. At least 25% of editorial board members should be from any other country, or should be employed in any other country apart from India, and 33% of total published papers should originate from outside the country of publication. Okay, and one half or 50% of total number of subscription should originate from institution or individuals outside the country of publication. Although there is still controversy going on in the third criteria, because today is the world of open access. All the information, most of the journals are providing free of cost, which anyone can access, read and reuse it. So we can't expect 50% of subscription should originate from other country. Okay, so but other two criteria seems to be reasonable. At least 25% member should be editorial board members should be from other countries, and 33 if a journal which is publishing in India, okay, has most of its reader in India, most of the editorial board members in India, and most of the articles are publishing from India, then how we can categorize that journal in the international journal? So you can visit this ResearchGate. Just you can type definition of index journal. You can see the debate which is going on by many of the reputed researchers and scientists, and they are trying to come forward with a definition of a good international journal. So let us now take a story. In scenario 1, for example, you are situated in a city, or you are residing in a city. If a tree falls in a forest and there is no one to hear around it, will it be noticed by anyone, or will it have impact on anyone's life? Your pretty definite answer will be no. Why? Because you are staying in city. If a tree falls in forest, a new tree will grow up, and I am not bothered about, and neither it is affecting me. But in scenario 2, if you are residing in city, and if the tree falls in a city and blocks the road, creating a lot of problems for the traffic, will it be traffic? Will it be noticed by anyone or have impact on anyone's life? Yes, definitely. Because I am residing in city, the road is blocked and I can't go anywhere. So definitely it is impacting my life. Okay. So the same happens in case of published article. Scientific community is continuously searching evidence-based facts from the various reputed databases, and these databases only contains information about indexed articles. So if you submit your article and publish your article in so-called predatory journal which is not indexed, will they be able to search your article or cite your article? Definitely your answer will be no. So don't you think that your published research in so-called predatory journals will never appear in front of your scientific committee and will lose all its importance? So this thing should be noted, that we should publish in a good, reputed and an index journal, so that it is freely available, it is based on a peer review system, and it is evidence based, so that it has importance for everyone and has impact on someone else's life. So now for the conclusion of this webinar, I will like to take a statement which was given by Jeffrey Beall. As I told you, he is the American librarian and the pioneer, and he was most criticized for his what do you say about the predatory journal. He revealed the false practice which are not ethical based, which are being followed by predatory so-called predatory journals or publishers. So he said, by far predatory publishers damage science more than anything else. They do not faithfully manage peer review system and allow questionable science to be published as if it had passed a strong peer review. Okay, so just I will give you one small example. Is if you go to a supermarket, okay, and you want to buy a tomato ketchup, on the shelf you can see tomato ketchups of various brands, for example Heinz, Maggi and other brands also. If I put my tomato ketchup there, which is not approved by Food and Drug Association or FSAI, and then what will happen? Will you purchase that tomato ketchup? Your pretty definite answer will be no. So same thing happens when you publish your research in so-called predatory journal, which is not based on scientific evidence, nor it has gone through a peer review system. So nobody will like to accept that findings of that manuscript. So to have your research with most of the output, you should be patient and publish in a good reputed journal. With this, I will like to give a special thanks to Dr. Yunus Jiwai sir, Dr. Sunila B.S. ma'am and Dr. Bhagyalakshmi ma'am for providing time-to-time guidelines and providing me the opportunity to present this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Hani Sharma, for your wonderful presentation. I guess you have covered almost all the topics, which was helpful to understand which is a predatory journal and which is a good journal. So we have some questions.
Yes.
So I'll be just putting forward. I hope you'll be able to address the concerns of the audience. The first question what we have is by Dr. Seema. She asked that can you suggest if any tools are present which could possibly suggest the journal for our research paper?
What are possible tools for?
For suggesting which would be the best journal for a particular research paper.
Sir, there is no particular tool. Only way to search a good journal is by the indexing. You should you should visit the about section of that particular journal, and you should see which they are having all these qualities or not. Okay, they should be you should be able to identify them in their particular database which they are claiming to be indexed. So that is the only way, or there is no other tools I am aware of that can help to distinguish these journals.
Okay.
Sorry, ma'am, I am not able to hear you.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, ma'am.
Yeah. Some of the audience wants to know, when actually do you classify a journal international? When you have to categorize them as national and international for all the credit points?
Ma'am, as such, at present, there are no specific criteria. As I told in last, there is a debate going on that what is the definition should be of an international journal. So indirectly, if you translate into a national journal, at least 25, most of the editorial board members are from India, and most of the readers as well as the publications, if are from India, they should be categorized at national level journal. Okay, and if they are 25% editorial board from other countries and 33% articles are being published from other countries, they can be categorized as international. But at present there is no relevant literature available, so I had placed that slide at last, which can be helpful in future.
Because most commonly we are asked, whenever the faculty has to place across the articles, they ask us whether it is national, international. This categorization is always there.
Yes.
And so a defined criteria as to when we are supposed to place our article as international platform, an article in that international journal, which is on an international platform or national. Anyway, still, as I understand, yes.
Because ma'am, actually, according to many of the research, if you can visit the link which I had provided, many of the leading researchers are trying to come up with a definition of an international journal, because we have many good journals in India, like Journal of Postgraduate Medicine, for example. I am taking Journal of Postgraduate Medicine or Indian Journal of Dental Research. They have editorial board members from different countries. They have subscription from different countries, but still, because their name starts with Indian, they are categorized as national journal instead of being an international. But actually, they are truly international.
Okay, and there are a few more questions, Dr. Avinash. One of the audience asks about, can you give us a little more information on SJR and SNIP, the SNP and the SJR, the scores that is presented in the database?
SJR, ma'am, one is citation rate of the journals, ma'am. So what happens is basically you should consider impact factor, which is only issued by Cleverett Analyst. Okay, that is JIF. Okay, that is journal impact factor. But most of the predatory publishers try to confuse you with that using similar terms like GIF, journal impact factor, or global impact factor. And if you see the BL's list and you try to see most of the Indian journals which are indexed in Index Copernicus, the Index Copernicus is now considered as a fake matricing agency. Okay, so you should be beware of such kind of journals.
Mhm. And I have one question from my side. When you try to put across these DCI guidelines, I didn't see that they have requested for a Scopus database there,
Yeah,
an
ma'am,
article published in
because
Scopus database, right? But
yes,
whenever my observation is there are quite a few journals which are though indexed in Scopus are not seen in PubMed.
yeah.
And if they are in PubMed, they're also. So how important is it for us to check on this when we are publishing an
Ma'am,
article?
because nowadays Scopus in the database is growing rapidly, and it is
Yes.
in few years it will be like equivalent to the PubMed or Medline. Okay, so most of the
All
journals
right.
for most of the institutions, like if I give you one example, Manipal. Okay, Manipal Academy of Higher Education, they are considering Q2 Scopus index articles. Okay, so
Mm.
Scopus is different and PubMed Medline and PubMed Central are different. So you have to check in both. Okay, so at present there is no guidelines issued by Dental Council of India to include or to provide any benefit for the articles which are indexed in Scopus. Although particular certain universities are considering it.
All right.
And one more
There are
thing
no
I
big-
will like to add, ma'am. Most of the benefit of Scopus is that it updates its listing in every 6 months. Okay, so you that is more beneficial because PubMed takes a long time to get its indexing updated. Okay, so Scopus is indexing in every 6 months. So better they are continuously checking the quality of the journals.
Yeah, this is true because I have appreciated the Scopus trying to get it even within 1.5 2 months, 1 month I believe after an online view of the article, it's seen on the Scopus database. That's true what you
Yes,
said.
ma'am. Generally,
Dr. Avinash, you can proceed
Scopus
with the
updates
next question.
between April, June, and once in December, ma'am. December or January.
All right. All right.
Dr. Hani, there's one more question.
Yes, sir.
They asked that if the journal is not registered with JCR, how do we
Yes, ma'am.
determine the JIF?
Sir, if it is not registered with JCR, then you can't determine the journal impact factor because citation report should be there that how many citations they are getting.
Okay.
There are particular, you can determine personally that by dividing the number of citations which a journal is receiving and the number of publication in 2 years. But that will not be considered everywhere else.
Okay. I hope that answers the question of the participant.
Yeah, finally, I think to overall summarize, there was one question which is coming up. Do we always have to choose an open access journal? Yes, across your presentation, we have heard
Ma'am,
about it.
we should always prepare open access journal because what is the main purpose of a research? The main purpose of the research is to get the attention of the most of the scientific committee, or you want that research to be having impact on most of the scientific committee, because nowadays everything is based on evidence-based literature, from the drug to various equipments. Okay, so that should be based on, if the research is not freely accessible and no one is able to read it, reuse it, and cite it, then what is the purpose of the publishing such kind of journal? Because there is a term apart from gold open access and green, there are certain journals which provide hybrid access. Okay, so in that journals they have both open access and closed. If you provide some higher amount, your article will be as a open access, while the other articles will be closed access. So there are other things also like diamond access, hybrid access, which I had not covered here because most of the journals are following gold open access and green open access.
All right. I think this was a question from a novice researcher because we have many students on board today who are all our participants. And I suppose you have sufficiently enriched them with the knowledge of what journal or which journal at what time and how you're supposed to go about choosing that. Any more questions, Dr. Avinash? All right.
I guess there are no more questions. I hand it over to Dr. Sunila for her concluding remarks.
Well, thank you, Dr. Anish Sharma. It was very interesting, informative, and you've highlighted the most important points that one has to remember when we are going ahead with our publication. Because as I understand, it's just not sufficient to perform research. And you're supposed to always disseminate the research findings in our journal. Otherwise, the entire exercise of research goes a waste. And more importantly, we are supposed to choose a quality journal. And that's where we get our publicly visible and appreciation from the audience. And we take forward it for practice, that is translating our research into practice. So it was really very informative and well done. It was a privilege, a delight to have you on board today. And I think all of us have familiarized ourselves to what is predatory journals. Well, thank you once again on behalf of the Dental Education Unit, on behalf of Jesus Dental College and Jesus Academy of Higher Education Research. It was an honor to have you as our alumni, being a resource faculty to all our students and faculty who are registered today. Thank you once again. And I think we should wind up. And kindly pass on your email ID for any of the student researchers who want to know. They can go ahead, try to write to you for any suggestions, and I hope you feel free to. So I shall provide this email ID of yours to the participants. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Thank you all participants. Thank you all for your enthusiastic participation. We would go ahead with some more faculties like this and bring on board more interesting webinars in the future. So we appreciate the participation of all the participants. Thank you once again. And I think now we shall leave the meeting. Okay.
Thank you, participants.